We got a lot of wonderful news for you guys if you're outside Canada or within Canada and you're looking to get immigration, you're looking to get your PR, whether you're on a work permit or a study permit. There are some great things that are coming your way, so we're going to discuss them right now. We're also going to discuss the 3 immigration streams for express entry, and I'm going to explain that in detail. I'm going to share my screen and show you how you can apply in the current stages. So, Trudeau issued a mandate letter for immigration to meet the liberal immigration goals for this year. And that letter was outlining a lot of things that I'm going to discuss with you guys. These things haven't been implemented yet, but they will be soon. So please check your news for your PR and immigration on the CIC website as well. You'll learn a lot, and a lot of things are going to change for the better. So the first thing that is in this mandate letter, and that's going to help you guys out, is the application processing time. So usually PR, PNPs, they take a whole lot of time. Now the application processing time is going to be much lesser. According to a lot of reports, it's going to be just 2 weeks for things like work permit renewals or study permit renewals. Could be the same thing for the immigration applications as well. For PR applications, processing times are going to get much shorter. On top of that, right now for express entry, you have 3 things. You have the Skilled Worker Program, the Federal Skilled Trades Program, and the Canadian Experience Class. These things are the main focus for express entry and the main streams where most people apply to immigrate to Canada. There are going to be more. There are going to be more pathways coming very soon. And this is not only for people who are outside Canada. So if you want to apply for immigration, it's not only for you. Of course, you can do it, but it's also for the workers, people here on a work permit, and for international students as well. Imagine that. So it's going to be much easier for you to change from a student to a PR holder or even a work permit holder very fast. The next development is for the PNP process. So PNPs are based on different provinces. If you're in Manitoba, Ontario, Alberta, different provinces, you have your own PNP system. What that does is when you apply for the PNP, then your way to getting the PR is much faster. You apply for PNP, then you apply for PR instead of directly applying for your PR. And by PR, I mean permanent residence, of course. So with this, it's expedited, it's much faster, and guess what? They're going to introduce new PNP programs, which is going to make it even more faster. For people here who already have their permanent residence, and now you're applying for your Canadian citizenship, the fees is going to be waived very soon. So you won't have to pay those, I think, $600 or $800. You don't have to pay that anymore. On top of that, the Canadian government is going to establish a trusted employer system. So what that is going to do is it's going to help people or employers or companies to hire immigrant workers on work permits. A lot of times, these companies don't want to hire foreign workers because they have to issue an LMIA, which is very expensive for the employer. And that LMIA allows the employer to give the worker papers that can help the worker apply for immigration. So now this process is going to be much easier for the employer, which means employers are going to be encouraged to hire immigrant workers who don't have their PR yet. And why this is important for you: first of all, you get a job. Second of all, when the employer is supposed to make papers for you to prove that you're actually working for him or her, you will get those papers easily because it's not a headache for the employer anymore, and those papers will help you get your immigration, file your application. The last thing that was mentioned, which is again important for some of you, is for the undocumented workers. So these are workers who are here illegally or who are here working on cash, which are not documented. They're saying they're going to help workers in those areas too. I'm not sure if it's going to be a direct way to PR, or maybe they're going to get them to get their documentation done. But if you're working on cash, or if you don't have your right papers, you're maybe an illegal immigrant here, they're going to help you find a way to be legal and make it easy for you to get your permanent residence. So a lot of good things coming your way, and you want to keep tuned in the next couple of weeks. Most likely at the start of New Year, these things will be implemented because now everybody's going to take a break for the holidays. So these things are coming very soon, which means your PR dreams and immigration dreams are going to be realized very soon. This has all happened due to COVID-19. So because people are immigrating less in almost all countries, Canada wants to fulfill its target. And because of that, it's raising its target this year and the next year, which pretty much is next year. Also, it's making it very easy for immigrants to immigrate because they want to meet those targets. So that means just good news for all of you. Okay guys, let's talk about the current express entry programs we have. We have 3 of them. We'll talk about them now. More are going to be added as per the new mandate letter. So there is going to be some ease in these requirements, but let's see what we have right now and compare it to what's going to come next. Okay, so the first thing you have is the Canadian Experience class. And here, in fact, for everything, you need your language skills, which is CLB 7 and CLB 5. Let's say CLB 7, because for most people we would need that. CLB 7 for a federal worker program as well. What is CLB 7? CLB 7 means 7 for CELPIP in all modules. It means 6 in IELTS for all modules. Okay, the more, the better. All right. If you're doing the federal skilled trades program, CLB 5 for speaking and listening, and 4 for the other 2. So CLB 5 is a 5 in everything in CELPIP, and a CLB 4 is a 3.5. It depends. You can see the chart. 3.5 for reading, 4 for writing, 4.5 for listening, and 4 for speaking. So this is the equivalency chart, and that's how you can see what language level you need versus what is required. And this really depends on your points, because this whole thing, express entry, all 3 streams depend on your points. Age is also a factor. Work experience, we'll look at that. That's also a factor. So the more points you have, the better, which means the higher score you have, the better. Now let's look at the type or the level of work experience. You will see this thing mentioned a lot, NOC. NOC basically describes the National Occupational Classification, so the job level you're at. So your skill type is a 0 if you are in management jobs, such as restaurant managers, mine managers, or shore captains, basically in fishing, which rarely people are, but people in these areas, this will be considered skill type 0. A skill type A would be professional jobs like doctors, dentists, architects. Skill level B are people with technical jobs and skilled trade, a lot of labor work, chefs, plumbers, and electricians. Skill level C are people with intermediate jobs, which is where you don't need a high level of qualification. Industrial butchers, long-haul truck drivers, food and beverage servers. And skill level D are again labor jobs. That includes fruit pickers, cleaning staff, oil field workers, and similar things that you can think about. With these skill levels, you want to identify what skill level you have, because when we come back here and we look at the type of work experience required, these are the requirements. I'm not going to read them. You can pause the video. Feel free to pause the video here and check out what level you belong to. With that, you will be able to see which of these 3 categories you fit in better. When we talk about the work experience, we can see that Canadian Experience class requires a lot of work. It doesn't require a lot of work. This one requires the most amount of work, 2 years. Canadian Experience class and the Federal Skilled Worker Program both require 1 year and 1 year. The difference is this needs to be continuous, so you cannot skip jobs, you cannot change a job, and this is within the last 10 years. This one is within the last 3 years, so slight difference there. And the Federal Skilled Program needs 2 years, so a lot of work experience there within the last 5 years. When we talk about the job offer, it is not required for the first 2 streams, Federal and Canadian Experience class. It is required, however, for the Federal Skilled Trades Program. A valid job offer of full-time employment, this is something your employer will provide, or a certificate of qualification in that skill trade. So this is probably your college diploma or something where you have a certificate or a degree, which could be accepted as a certificate of qualification. But to be honest, when I see people filing immigration applications, this thing is rarely seen. Mostly people go with the job offer for full-time employment from their employer, because a certificate of qualification is subjective. We don't know if immigration will accept that or not. And education is not required in the first Canadian Experience class or the Federal Skilled Trades Program. However, it is required for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. it mentions the points here, and you would get more points if you have your secondary education. Similarly, you would have more points if you have more language skills and other things as well. If you have more work experience, you get more points. So it's all a points game, and the more points you have, the better chances you have at one of these 3 streams. But again, the good news is if you don't have enough points, you just want to keep tuned with the next few weeks. The immigration policies will be updated and it's going to become easy for you to apply. But currently, these are your 3 options where most people apply and successfully get their immigration. This is called the express entry system, and these 3 things belong to that. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment, like, share, and subscribe. And once again, email is in the description if you have any questions at all.